Like, and he was able to track it. He got time, tracked it the whole way, and then I throw the same one. He's like, like, oh, lowly, you're an idiot. When I was in Korea, I was in the minor leagues. So, that was an adjustment coming from the CPBL and then playing, in the minor leagues over there with, there was no fans. It was day games. So it was quite different in terms of atmosphere.
Okay, but how about
skill? I thought, the CPBL was a higher skill set in terms of overall talent than what I was facing in Korea.
What about the Asia teams when faced the big league KBL?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously very talented as well. It was just one game that, so I didn't have a long time of experiences versus the KBO, major league hitters. So when I faced Samsung in the Asia series, I had a game plan, and I knew how I wanted to pitch guys because I watched video on them, and I just tried to go out and execute that game plan. There really wasn't an environment, it was 10 people there, I remember pitching in the minor leagues and hearing birds chirping, and I was just there was a lot of times where I was I don't know if I made the right decision, coming here. And there was just no excitement. It was 1 o'clock, on a Tuesday in the minor leagues in Korea, and there was no excitement. So, that was the first year for the KT Wiz, and they were building their stadium they were going to use for their major league team. That would have been the following season. So, I was playing with, 18 and 19, and 20-year-olds for the most part, and I think I was 28 or 29 at the time. But that's what an expansion team is. It's a bunch of newly drafted players in their first year of pro ball for the most part, opposed to, playing, for another organization that's established and they have, rookies, veterans, players in between. So, KT was still trying to find, they were preparing for their first major league season, but for I think it was 5 months, I was pretty much by myself. I would just explore, on days off, I'd take the train or the bus and start walking around the city and, just do my thing and try and, see new sights and sounds and try and experience Korea. I tried to fill my time that way. After kind of going through that minor league season and then coming back to Taiwan, and being on a major league roster and a team and playing in stadiums that had fans cheering, there was life, there was excitement at the stadium again. It gave me a new, gave me energy again. I didn't take that for granted again. Just hearing the fans being supported, going from nothing and then coming back to Taiwan. It was wow, you don't take this for granted. 15 and 16, he was incredible those years, and he was one of the most clutch hitters I think I've ever come across in baseball. He always found himself at bat in the biggest moments of the biggest games, and he'd always come through with the biggest hits. It was crazy impressive. I'm trying to remember what year it was. He was still with Lamigo, I'm almost positive. So this must have been 2015. We were playing in Kaohsiung, and it was late in the game. It was I think it was a 3-2 count. I threw him a hoku but he had like called time, and I thought it was pretty late, and the umpire gave it to him. You know, and the umpire granted him the time. I threw the pitch. It was a really, really good hoko, right? So no pitch. I got the ball back, and I was like, all right, I could throw a split again, or maybe I should throw a fastball here. I was like, hoko's my pitch. I'm throwing a hoko. It wasn't as good, and he hit a home run opposite field. They win the game, and you know, I just remember that moment. Like, I just showed him my best pitch. Why would I? Like, and you know, he was able to track it. He got time, tracked it the whole way, and then I throw the same one. He's like, you know, like, oh, Lowly, you're an idiot. We always say hi to each other. You know, I think it goes back to kind of what we were saying about Cha-Cha. Like, obviously my relationship with him is a little different because I actually played with him in 2012 and 13. So, you know, I think there's a lot of mutual respect there, as players, as competitors. And also we had, you know, a little bit of relationship because we play together. So I always say hi, how you doing? You know, just a nice interaction when I see him. That would have been fun, you know, but, you know, Shawi was fun too because, you know, I'm friends with Shawi, we played together. So I thought that was special as well. Geez, I faced him so many times over my career, and I think, you know, he beat me sometimes, I beat him sometimes, and that could have been fun as well. Of course. You know, first off, like, he's like the legend of this league, right? You know, it's like he's the face of the CPBL for so many years, and I was fortunate enough to be the starting pitcher against, you know, the brothers and him in his final game in his retirement night. And you know, and the atmosphere that day that's like one of the most like electric crowds that I've ever like pitched in front of. You know, kind of getting like goosebumps right now thinking about it. You know, there was just so much excitement and like anticipation in the stadium that night. You know, it was, you know, maybe more than like any like playoff game that I pitched in. I think because of his presence in the league for so long, it just kind of commanded that atmosphere at that moment in time. You know, I got to know him like a little bit. Like, I guess I was like kind of like friendly with him in passing just over the years. So, you know, if I'm rooting for him, you know, as a former player, just not when he plays football, you know. But I hope he's happy, and I hope that's something that he's the position he's excited to be in. You know, I wish the best for him. You know, I remember more of like a process. You know, at that time, at the start of 2019, you know, in spring training. I was kind of like trying to find my way to get to a point that I knew I would be successful, and I wasn't there yet. And just having multiple conversations with him, and him, you know, talking through different ideas that I had, some ideas that he had, of what I was feeling, kind of where I wanted to get to as a pitcher. And so, you know, it was that process of just like little feelings, little ideas, little adjustments to make that eventually got me physically, maybe mentally, the pitcher that I knew I wanted to be in order to be successful. I thought he was just a very nice guy, you know, like he would say hello, like he was in the morning time, like when we arrived for spring training, and he was very approachable, I thought, like for being, you know, having the star power that he has, like that presence. I thought he was very approachable to be able to go and talk to and have a conversation with. I thought like very impressive, you know. I remember having a conversation with Josh Renicky it was 58's like first season. He was still like 18 years old. And I remember like talking to Renicky about him And Renick was like, I can't believe this kid's 18 years old. Like, I can't get him out, you know, and like discussing with him, like, hey, this is how I pitch to him, what are you doing? And like having a in-depth conversation about getting a kid that was in high school, you know, 3 months ago out. You know, it was like, no, it was pretty impressive, like what he was doing at that age against pitchers that are pretty darn good, you know. And that season, that first half of that year was incredibly impressive. Characteristics of him being a hitter, for whatever reason, you know, I think he was patient, he had power, he had good hand-eye coordination. You know, he can pull the ball, but he could also go, you know, opposite field on you too. So, you know, being a pretty darn complete hitter at that age was extremely impressive. Where it wasn't easy to get him off balance. You know, he was always in control. He was always balanced. He was always kind of on time. It was hard to like disrupt his timing.